My name is Hannah, and I am 29 years old. Right now, I am sitting in the back of a taxi racing through the cobblestone streets of Rome, and my hands will not stop shaking. Behind me is an elegant restaurant where my mother-in-law's 70th birthday dinner is about to begin. Except I am not there. My seat was missing. Actually, that is not quite right. My seat was never there to begin with, and as I watched my husband laugh it off while his family smiled at my humiliation, I realized something. I realized I had spent 5 years trying to earn a place at a table that was never meant for me. So I made a phone call. Actually, I made several. And in the next 30 minutes, that family is going to discover exactly what happens when you push someone too far. Before I tell you what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching this from. Please hit that like button and subscribe to hear more stories like this. Trust me, you will want to know how this family dinner turned into the most satisfying moment of my life. I met David 5 years ago at a wedding reception in Cambridge. I was working as the event coordinator at the Fairmont Hotel, and he was one of the groomsmen. He had this way of making everyone around him feel at ease, cracking jokes during the cocktail hour and helping the elderly guests find their seats. When he asked for my number at the end of the night, I said yes without hesitation. Our first date was at a small Italian restaurant in the North End, and we talked until the owner started stacking chairs around us. David was everything I had been looking for. He was 32, an architect with his own small firm, thoughtful in ways that mattered. He remembered that I took my coffee with oat milk, not regular. He texted me good morning before I even woke up. He listened when I complained about demanding clients at work. For the first 6 months, everything felt effortless. Then I met his family. It was a Sunday in November, and David had invited me to lunch at his parents' house in Newton. The neighborhood was the kind where every lawn looked professionally maintained, and every car in the driveway cost more than my annual salary. His mother, Patricia, answered the door wearing a cream cashmere sweater set and pearl earrings. She was 63 then, a retired high school English teacher with perfect posture and a smile that did not quite reach her eyes. "So you are Hannah," she said, looking me up and down. "David has told us so much about you." I had dressed carefully that morning, choosing a simple navy dress and flats, but the way Patricia's gaze lingered on my outfit made me second-guess everything. Her husband Frank, a retired accountant with silver hair and kind eyes, shook my hand warmly and ushered us inside. Their daughter, Lauren, David's younger sister, barely looked up from her phone when we were introduced. She was 27, worked in marketing, and had the kind of effortless beauty that came from good genes and expensive skincare. Lunch was pot roast with roasted vegetables, and Patricia served it on china so delicate I was afraid to cut my meat too forcefully. The conversation flowed easily enough, mostly Frank asking me about my work, and Patricia interjecting with observations about the wedding industry. "It must be exhausting," Patricia said, dabbing her mouth with a linen napkin, "catering to bridezillas all day." "Most of my clients are actually lovely," I replied, keeping my tone light. "The key is understanding what they envision for their day and helping them achieve it." Patricia said, and that was it. Just a sound that felt like judgment wrapped in politeness. As we were clearing the table, Patricia pulled me aside in the kitchen. "Hannah, dear, that dress is lovely, but it is a bit too casual for Sunday family dinners. We like to maintain a certain standard here." I felt my face flush. "Oh, I am sorry. I did not realize." "No harm done," she said, patting my arm. "You will know for next time." When I told David about it on the drive home, he squeezed my hand and laughed softly. "Mom just likes things a certain way. Do not take it personally. She will warm up to you." But she did not warm up. Our first Thanksgiving together, Patricia assigned me the task of setting the table. I arranged the silverware and folded the napkins the way I had learned in hospitality school, creating neat little pockets for the name cards. When Patricia came in to inspect, she frowned and redid every single place setting while I stood there watching. The fork tines face up, dear, not down, and the knife blade should always face inward toward the plate. "Did they not teach you that?" Lauren snickered from the doorway. David, who had been watching football with Frank, did not even notice. Christmas was worse. When we exchanged gifts, Patricia handed me a wrapped box with a ribbon. Inside was a book titled The Art of Being a Gracious Wife, complete with chapters on hosting dinner parties and managing household budgets. Lauren got a designer handbag. David got a weekend trip to Vermont. I smiled and thanked her, but inside I felt like I had been slapped. I thought it might be helpful, Patricia said sweetly. Every young woman should know these things. David kissed my cheek later and whispered, "She means well. That is just her way of trying to help." But it did not feel like help. It felt like criticism disguised as care. The pattern continued. At David's birthday party, which Patricia hosted at their house, she did not ask my opinion about the menu or decorations. When I offered to bring a dessert, she said, "Oh, no, dear, I have already ordered a cake from the best bakery in Boston, but thank you for offering." On Valentine's Day, when David and I had dinner reservations, Patricia called him in a panic. Apparently, she had arranged a dinner for him with the daughter of one of her bridge club friends, not realizing he was already in a serious relationship. David canceled our reservation to have dinner with his family and their guest, instead assuring me it was just a misunderstanding. "Mom did not know we had plans," he said apologetically. "It would be rude to bail now. Rain check." I ate takeout alone in my apartment that night and wondered when I had become so easy to sideline. But I loved David. I loved the way he drew little sketches of buildings on napkins when he was thinking. I loved how he sang off-key in the shower and how he always stopped to pet dogs on the street. So I told myself Patricia would come around eventually. I told myself I just needed to try harder. 3 years into our relationship, David proposed. We were walking along the harbor at sunset, and he got down on one knee right there on the pier, tourists clapping around us. The ring was perfect, a simple solitaire that caught the light. I cried and said yes, and for a moment, everything felt exactly right. Then came the wedding planning. I was excited. This was my field after all. I knew the best vendors, the most beautiful venues, how to create an event that felt personal and memorable. I had a vision board within a week, an autumn wedding at a historic estate with burgundy and gold accents, string lights, and a jazz trio. Patricia had other ideas. "Darling," she said when I showed her my ideas over brunch, "I have been planning this wedding in my mind for years. Trust me, I know exactly what will work." And just like that, my wedding became her project. She chose the venue, a country club where she was a member. She selected the florist, the caterer, the photographer. When I suggested alternatives, she smiled tightly and said, "Let us just keep it simple, shall we? You have enough to worry about with work." My parents, who had flown in from Oregon, were allowed to invite only 15 guests. Patricia's side of the family and her friends took up nearly 2/3 of the guest list. When I mentioned this to David, he sighed and said, "She is paying for most of it, hon. It is easier to just let her do her thing." The wedding day itself was beautiful, I will give Patricia that. But it did not feel like mine. It felt like I was a guest at someone else's event. Patricia fluttered around, making sure every detail was perfect, directing the photographer, rearranging centerpieces, even adjusting my veil without asking. When it was time for the mother-son dance, she held David close and whispered something in his ear that made him smile. I never found out what she said. David and I honeymooned in Napa Valley, and for that week, it was just us. No Patricia, no Lauren, no family obligations. We tasted wine, took long drives through vineyards, and talked about our future. We wanted to wait a few years before having kids focus on our careers, maybe buy a house. It felt good to make plans together, but when we returned, Patricia was waiting with expectations of her own. She wanted weekly Sunday dinners at her house. She had opinions on where we should live, how we should furnish our apartment, whether I should continue working full-time. And the question that came up at every single gathering, "When are you giving me grandchildren?" "We are not ready yet." I would say, trying to keep my voice even. "Well, do not wait too long," Patricia would reply. "Your biological clock is ticking, dear, and David deserves to be a father," as if I was somehow depriving him. 6 months before the Rome trip, Lauren got engaged to a lawyer named Jason. Patricia threw an engagement party that rivaled most weddings I had coordinated, complete with a live band, passed hors d'oeuvres, and a champagne tower. She gave a toast about how thrilled she was that Lauren had found such a wonderful man, someone who came from a good family and had a promising future. I had never received a toast like that. David noticed my mood on the drive home. "You okay? Your mom really loves Lauren's fiancé. She is excited. Lauren is her baby." "I know. I just wonder if she will ever be that excited about me." David did not answer, and his silence said everything. Things came to a head one evening in early September. We were at Patricia's house for dinner, and she brought up the subject of grandchildren again. This time, she did not stop at a gentle nudge. She launched into a full speech about family legacy, about how she and Frank had always envisioned a house full of grandchildren, about how disappointed she was that David was not prioritizing family the way she had raised him to. "We are waiting a few more years," David said, a note of frustration in his voice. "Hannah and I have discussed this." Patricia turned to me. "Is this your doing? Are you the one insisting on waiting?" I felt every pair of eyes on me. Frank looked uncomfortable. Lauren smirked into her wine glass. "It is a decision we made together," I said carefully. "Well, I think it is selfish," Patricia said. "Marriage is about building a family, not about putting your career first." I wanted to argue. I wanted to point out that David also had a career, that my work mattered, that we had every right to decide when we were ready. But I had learned over the years that arguing with Patricia only made things worse. So I excused myself to the bathroom and stood there gripping the sink, trying not to cry. David found me afterward and wrapped his arms around me. "I am sorry. She should not have said that." "Why do you let her talk to me like that?" "I know. I will talk to her." But he never did. Or if he did, it did not change anything. Then, in late September, Patricia made an announcement that would alter everything. We were at Sunday dinner picking at roast chicken when she tapped her wine glass with her fork. "I have decided how I want to celebrate my 70th birthday," she said, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I want to take the whole family to Rome." Frank looked surprised but pleased. Lauren clapped her hands together. David grinned. "That is amazing, Mom," he said. "When were you thinking?" "Mid-October. 2 weeks. I have always wanted to go back. Your father and I honeymooned there, you know." I did a quick mental calculation. 2 weeks in Italy. Flights, hotels, meals. It would cost a fortune, and I would need to request time off from work, which was tricky given that October was peak wedding season. But David was already nodding enthusiastically. "This could be like a second honeymoon for us too, hon." Patricia smiled at him, then turned to me. "And Hannah, since you work in hospitality, I thought you might help with the planning. You know, coordinate the hotels and restaurants and such. I trust your expertise." It was the first time she had ever acknowledged my professional skills. I felt a flutter of hope. Maybe this was it. Maybe this trip would be the turning point in our relationship. "Of course," I said. "I would be happy to help." "Wonderful," Patricia said, raising her glass. "To Rome." A week later, Patricia called me at work. I was in the middle of reviewing contracts for an upcoming corporate event, but I answered immediately. "Hannah, dear, I have been thinking about Rome. I want everything to be perfect. Since you are the expert, I am going to give you complete control over the planning. No need to run things by me constantly. Just make it special." My heart swelled. "Thank you, Patricia. I promise I will make this incredible for you." "I know you will, dear. Now here is what I am thinking. A 5-star hotel near the Trevi Fountain. I have always wanted to stay in that area, and for my actual birthday dinner, I want a private dining room at an exclusive restaurant, somewhere authentic, not touristy, traditional Italian food, the best wine. I am inviting my sister Margaret and her husband Tom as well, so that will be 10 of us total." I scribbled notes. "Got it. 10 people. Any dietary restrictions I should know about?" Frank prefers his steak well done, and Lauren has been avoiding carbs, though she will probably cheat on vacation. "Oh, and I want white roses and lilies for the table arrangements. They are my favorites. And a photographer. I want to capture memories." "I will take care of everything." "And Hannah, spare no expense. This is a milestone birthday. I want it to be unforgettable." "It will be," I promised. Over the next 3 weeks, I threw myself into planning. I reached out to contacts from my network, researched the best hotels and restaurants in Rome, read reviews, compared options. I found a boutique 5-star property just steps from the Trevi Fountain with a rooftop terrace and rooms decorated with original artwork. I booked a suite for Patricia and Frank and comfortable rooms for everyone else. For the birthday dinner, I secured a reservation at a Michelin-starred restaurant known for its traditional Roman cuisine and its private dining room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city's terracotta rooftops. I worked with the chef to customize a menu that balanced Patricia's request for authenticity with considerations for everyone's preferences. Antipasti handmade pasta roasted lamb, a special birthday dessert. I arranged for a local florist to create centerpieces with white roses and lilies. I hired a bilingual photographer who specialized in family events. I even coordinated private car service to transport everyone from the airport and around the city. I sent Patricia regular updates via email attaching photos of the hotel, the restaurant sample menus. Her responses were brief. "Looks fine. Hope it is as good as it seems. We will see." I tried not to let her lukewarm reactions bother me. I reminded myself that she was just nervous about such a big trip, that she was trusting me with something important. David was supportive. "You are doing an amazing job, Han. Mom is going to love this." I wanted to believe him. The week before departure, the family group chat buzzed constantly with excitement. Lauren posted photos of outfits she was packing. Patricia shared an article about the importance of family traditions. Frank joked about finally getting to eat real carbonara. David sent a picture of the new camera he had bought to document the trip. I chimed in occasionally, confirming logistics, reminding everyone about meeting times. When I mentioned that I had finalized all the dinner reservations and confirmed 10 guests at the birthday restaurant, Patricia responded with a simple, "Thank you for handling the logistics." It felt cold, transactional, but I brushed it off. She was probably just busy packing. The day before we left, I called the restaurant one final time to triple-check everything. "Buongiorno, this is Hannah. I am calling to confirm the reservation for October 18th. "Ah, si, Signora Hannah. The birthday dinner. We have everything ready. The private room, the special menu, 10-place settings. It will be beautiful." "Perfect. Thank you so much." I hung up feeling proud. Everything was locked in. This was going to be perfect. On the morning of October 12th, we met at Logan Airport. Patricia looked elegant in traveling clothes, a silk scarf draped over her shoulders. Frank hauled their matching luggage. Lauren and Jason arrived together, coordinating in black outfits like they had planned it. David squeezed my hand as we checked in. "Here we go," he said, grinning. "Here we go," I echoed. The flight was long but uneventful. I sat next to David, reviewing my itinerary on my tablet, making sure I had not forgotten anything. He scrolled through a magazine and dozed intermittently. Across the aisle, Patricia chatted with Frank about all the places they wanted to revisit from their honeymoon 40 years earlier. When we landed at Fiumicino Airport, the private cars I had arranged were waiting exactly where I had been told they would be. The drivers held signs with our names. Patricia, Frank, Lauren, and Jason took one car. David and I took another. Margaret and Tom, who were flying in from London, would meet us at the hotel later. As we drove through Rome, I pressed my face to the window, taking in the ancient architecture. The narrow cobblestone streets, the way golden autumn light spilled over everything. It was more beautiful than I had imagined. "This is incredible," David said, reaching for my hand. "It really is." We arrived at the hotel just after noon. The staff greeted us by name, thanks to the detailed arrival notes I had sent ahead. Check-in was seamless. Patricia inspected her suite with a critical eye, opening closets and testing the firmness of the mattress before giving a small nod. "It will do," she said. Our room was charming, with a view of terracotta rooftops and a glimpse of a church dome in the distance. I unpacked quickly, hung up my dresses, and freshened up. We had plans to meet in the lobby in an hour for a welcome lunch. Lunch was at a family-owned trattoria I had found through recommendations, a place that served simple, honest food. We sat at a long table on a vine-covered patio, and for a little while everything felt easy. Frank praised the wine. Lauren took photos of her pasta. Patricia even complimented the ambiance. I started to relax. The next 3 days followed a similar rhythm. I had planned a loose itinerary that balanced sightseeing with free time. On the first full day, we visited the Vatican museums and the Sistine Chapel. I had arranged skip-the-line tickets, so we bypassed the enormous crowds and went straight inside. The art was overwhelming in the best way. I stood beneath Michelangelo's ceiling, craning my neck until it ached, trying to take it all in. Patricia, however, spent most of the tour critiquing the guide's accent. "I can barely understand him," she muttered to Frank. Lauren was glued to her phone, angling for selfies in front of every piece of art. I tried to share some historical facts I had learned during my research, mentioning that Michelangelo had painted the ceiling while lying on his back on scaffolding. Patricia cut me off. Yes, dear, we can read the plaques ourselves. Lunch was at a trattoria near the Vatican, and once again, Patricia rearranged the seating. I ended up at the far end of the table, wedged between Jason and Margaret's husband, Tom. Tom was kind and asked polite questions about my work, but I felt isolated from the main conversation happening at the other end, where Patricia held court. David noticed and reached across the table to touch my arm. You okay? I nodded and smiled. Of course. On the second day, we explored the Colosseum and the Roman Forum. The weather was perfect, crisp, and sunny, and the ancient ruins were stunning. I had timed our visit to avoid the worst crowds, and the photographer I had hired met us there to take family photos. Patricia posed with Frank, then with Lauren and Jason, then with David. When the photographer suggested a shot of the whole family, Patricia positioned herself in the center, flanked by Frank and Lauren. David pulled me into the frame, but I noticed Patricia's smile tighten. That evening, we had dinner at a restaurant in Trastevere. It was not the birthday venue yet, just a casual spot with checked tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. Patricia toasted to family, making eye contact with Frank, Lauren, Jason, Margaret, and Tom. Her gaze skipped over me entirely. I told myself I was imagining it, but the knot in my stomach said otherwise. David squeezed my knee under the table. She is just excited. Do not read into it. But I was reading into it. I was reading into all of it. On the third day, we wandered through Trastevere, the bohemian neighborhood with narrow streets and colorful buildings. Patricia and Lauren walked arm in arm, stopping to browse shops selling handmade leather goods and ceramics. I trailed behind with David, Frank, and Jason. Frank, as always, was kind. He asked about my family in Oregon and whether my parents had ever been to Italy. Not yet, I said, but I would love to bring them someday. You should, Frank said warmly. Family trips are important. Jason was polite but distant, clearly more interested in staying close to Lauren. I got the sense he had been briefed on the family dynamics and knew where his loyalties were supposed to lie. That evening back at the hotel, Patricia gathered us in the lobby. Her actual birthday was the next day, and the big dinner was tomorrow night. She was glowing with anticipation. I cannot believe tomorrow is finally here, she said. This has been such a wonderful trip already, and tomorrow will be the highlight. Thank you all for being here. Her eyes swept over the group, lingering warmly on Lauren, Jason, Margaret, and Tom. When her gaze landed on me, it was brief and cool, like I was part of the staff rather than part of the family. I excused myself early, claiming I needed to confirm some final details for the dinner. Back in the room, I called the restaurant one more time. Buonasera, Giuseppe. This is Hannah. I just wanted to confirm everything is set for tomorrow evening. Si, Signora Hannah. Everything is perfetto. The private room is reserved, the menu is prepared, the flowers will be delivered in the afternoon. 10 place settings as you requested. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It is our pleasure. It will be a beautiful evening. I hung up and sat on the edge of the bed, staring out at the darkening sky. Everything was in place. Tomorrow was going to be perfect. It had to be. David came out of the bathroom drying his hair with a towel. You nervous? A little. I just want everything to go smoothly. He sat beside me and kissed my temple. It will. You have thought of everything. Mom is going to be blown away. I leaned into him, wanting to believe it. The next morning was Patricia's actual 70th birthday. We gathered for breakfast in the hotel's dining room, and the staff brought out a small cake with candles. Patricia beamed as we sang to her, and Frank kissed her cheek. She opened gifts at the table. I had spent weeks searching for the perfect present, finally settling on a hand-dyed silk scarf from a local Roman artisan, something beautiful and unique. I watched anxiously as she unwrapped it. How nice, she said, holding it up briefly before setting it aside. Thank you, Hannah. Lauren gave her a leather-bound photo album filled with pictures of Patricia and Frank Patricia and Lauren family holidays and milestones. Patricia's eyes welled up. Oh, sweetheart, this is perfect, she said, pulling Lauren into a tight embrace. You always know exactly what I want. I swallowed the lump in my throat and focused on my coffee. The afternoon was free time. David and I decided to walk to the Trevi Fountain. It was crowded with tourists, everyone jostling for space to take photos and toss coins. We found a spot near the edge and stood there for a while listening to the rush of water. I am nervous about tonight, I admitted. Why, everything is going to be amazing. You have done so much work. Mom is going to love it. I hope so. David wrapped his arm around me. She will. Trust me. I fished a coin out of my purse and turned my back to the fountain, closing my eyes as I tossed it over my shoulder. Tradition said it meant I would return to Rome someday, but in that moment I was wishing for something else. I was wishing for acceptance, for Patricia to finally see me as part of her family. We walked back to the hotel slowly, hand in hand. I showered and dressed carefully for dinner, choosing an elegant navy dress that was sophisticated but not flashy. I did my makeup, taking my time with each step. I wanted to look my best. David put on a suit and told me I looked beautiful. At 6:30, we met in the lobby. Patricia was stunning in a cream-colored gown that made her look regal. Frank wore a tuxedo. Lauren and Jason had clearly coordinated their outfits both in shades of black and gold. Margaret, Patricia's sister, looked lovely in burgundy, and her husband Tom was dapper in a blazer. There was a palpable sense of excitement. Patricia was radiant, talking about how much this evening meant to her. We set off on foot toward the restaurant, a 10-minute walk through charming streets that I had mapped out in advance. The evening air was mild, and the city glowed in the soft light of street lamps. The restaurant was tucked into a quiet square, its facade covered in ivy. Warm light spilled from the windows. A small brass plaque by the door indicated its Michelin star. My heart swelled with pride. This was it. This was the moment I had been working toward. The staff greeted us warmly. Buonasera, welcome, welcome. Giuseppe, the manager I had been coordinating with, personally escorted us inside. The restaurant was intimate and elegant, with exposed brick walls, candlelit tables, and the scent of fresh bread and simmering sauces. He led us up a narrow staircase to the second floor, where the private dining room waited. When he opened the door, I heard Patricia gasp. The room was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed a view of Rome at dusk, the sky streaked with pink and gold. A long table dominated the space, covered in crisp white linen. Candles flickered in glass holders, and at the center of the table, exactly as I had requested, were arrangements of white roses and lilies, their petals perfect and fragrant. "Oh," Patricia breathed. "Oh, it is beautiful." As relief flooded through me, this was the moment. This was when she would see how much I cared, how hard I had worked. "Hannah, you did all this?" Margaret asked, smiling at me. "Yes," I said, my voice a little shaky with emotion. "I wanted it to be special." "It is," Frank said warmly. "You did a wonderful job." The photographer was already there, positioned discreetly in the corner, and he started taking candid shots as everyone admired the setup. Patricia walked slowly around the table, trailing her fingers over the back of each chair, taking it all in. "This is exactly what I wanted," she said softly. My heart felt like it might burst. Giuseppe gestured toward the table. "Please, everyone, find your seats. We will begin with champagne and antipasti." I followed the group toward the table, scanning for the place cards I had requested. I saw Patricia's name at the head of the table, Frank to her right, Lauren and Jason across from them, Margaret and Tom further down, David near his mother. I kept looking for my name. 1 seat, 2 seats, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I counted again. 9 chairs, 9 place settings. My name was not there. I stood there frozen, staring at the table. My pulse started to pound in my ears. I counted a third time, thinking maybe I had missed it, maybe my card had fallen. But no, 9 seats, 9 names. I was not included. "Han, come sit down," David called, gesturing toward an empty space. But there was no empty space. "Where?" I asked, my voice coming out quieter than I intended. David looked at the table. I watched his expression shift from casual to confused. He counted the seats. Realization dawned on his face, and his cheeks flushed. Patricia was already seated, smoothing her napkin across her lap. Lauren was chatting with Jason, laughing about something. Margaret and Tom were admiring the view. No one seemed to notice that I was still standing. "There is no seat for me," I said louder this time. The room went quiet. All eyes turned to me. Patricia looked up, her eyebrows raised in what seemed like surprise. "Is something wrong?" "There is no seat for me," I repeated. Patricia glanced at the table as if she were seeing it for the first time. "Oh my goodness. Really?" She made a show of counting the chairs, her lips moving silently. Then she turned to David. "Darling, did you confirm the number with the restaurant?" David stammered. I thought Hannah handled everything." Patricia turned her gaze to me. "You booked this dinner, correct?" My throat felt tight. "Yes. I reserved for 10 people. I confirmed 10 place settings." Patricia sighed a small, disappointed sound. "Well, clearly there was a miscommunication somewhere." Lauren giggled. It was a light sound, but it cut through me. "Oops." David let out a nervous laugh, his face still red. "Oops, guess we miscounted." It was not funny, but Frank chuckled, probably trying to ease the tension. Margaret shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Tom stared at his wine glass. Jason smirked, and then Lauren laughed harder. "How do you miscount your own dinner?" Patricia joined in her laughter, soft and tinkling like wind chimes. "These things happen." David laughed too louder now, like he was trying to turn this into a joke, trying to make it okay. "Yeah, these things happen." The family laughed together, a chorus of amusement at my expense. It was not mean-spirited on the surface. It was light dismissive. But underneath it was something else. It was exclusion, dressed up as an accident. I stood there, my cheeks burning, my hands trembling at my sides. The photographer had lowered his camera, clearly uncertain about what was happening. Giuseppe approached cautiously. "Signora, is there a problem I can bring another chair? Another place setting?" Patricia waved her hand. No, we are fine as we are." She looked at me, her smile pleasant, but her eyes cold. "Maybe Hannah can eat at the bar downstairs, or take a walk. You have been here before practically with all your planning. Go explore the city, enjoy Rome." Lauren chimed in, still smiling. "Yeah, Hannah, you basically know this place by heart now. Go see the sights." More laughter rippled around the table. I looked at David. He was my husband. He was supposed to stand up for me. He was supposed to do something. He opened his mouth, then closed it. He looked at his mother, then back at me. He shrugged, his smile weak and helpless. He was asking me to let it go, to walk away, to not make a scene on his mother's birthday. Everything crystallized in that moment. This was not an accident. This was deliberate. Patricia had changed the reservation behind my back. She had arranged for 9 seats instead of 10, and the entire family had known. They had all been in on it. I had spent weeks planning this. I had coordinated every detail. I had used my professional skills and my personal connections, and this was how they repaid me. I took a slow, deep breath. "Seems I am not family," I said, my voice steady. Patricia's smile faltered just slightly. "Oh, Hannah, do not be so dramatic." I cut her off. "No, it is clear." I turned to David one more time. "Are you coming?" He looked torn, his eyes darting between me and his mother. Patricia's voice was sharp. "David, sit down. Do not let her ruin my birthday." David looked at me, his face pleading. "Han, can we talk about this after? Let us just get through dinner." He was asking me to stay, to sit somewhere else, maybe at the bar like Patricia suggested, to smile and pretend everything was fine while his family enjoyed the meal I had planned for them. He was asking me to accept this humiliation. I nodded slowly, not in agreement, in understanding. "Enjoy your dinner," I said. I turned and walked toward the door. Patricia called after me, her tone somewhere between annoyed and patronizing. "Hannah, really, this is so unnecessary." I did not look back. Giuseppe hurried after me. "Signora, please, we can fix this. Let me bring another chair, another—" "Thank you," I said, keeping my voice polite. "But no." I walked down the stairs out of the restaurant and into the Roman night. The street was busy with tourists and locals, the air filled with the hum of conversation and the buzz of scooters zipping past. I walked without direction, my legs moving on autopilot. My hands were shaking. My chest felt tight. I found myself in a small piazza with a fountain at its center. I sat on the edge, the stone cold beneath me, and pulled out my phone. My hands were still trembling as I stared at the screen. They had planned this. Patricia had called the restaurant and changed the reservation from 10 to 9. She had done it on purpose, and the whole family had gone along with it. Lauren had laughed. Frank had chuckled. Margaret and Tom had said nothing. And David had let it happen. The anger came in waves, hot and overwhelming. But then, beneath the anger, something else surfaced. Clarity. I was the one who had booked everything. My name was on all the reservations. The hotel, the restaurant, the car service, the tours. Everything was in my name, tied to my contacts, my credit card authorizations. I had the power here. A slow smile spread across my face. I opened my phone and scrolled to my contacts. Found Giuseppe's number, then the hotel concierge, then the car service, one by one. This was going to be satisfying. I took a deep breath and dialed the first number. Buonasera, Giuseppe. This is Hannah. There was a pause on the other end. I could hear the ambient noise of the restaurant kitchen in the background. Signora Hannah, is everything all right? I need to cancel the reservation for tonight, the birthday dinner, right now. Another pause, longer this time. I do not understand. The party is currently here. They are seated. Yes, I know. I am the one who booked the reservation. I am the one whose credit card is on file as a guarantee, and I am now canceling it. Please ask them to leave. Signora, this is very unusual. Are you certain? I am absolutely certain. Giuseppe's voice dropped lower. But it is the Signora's birthday. I understand that, but I made the booking. I have the authority to cancel it. Please check your records if you need to verify. I heard him rustling papers, probably pulling up the reservation on his system. Sigh, your name is here. But surely we can. Giuseppe, you have been wonderful to work with. I appreciate everything you have done. But I need you to do this for me. Cancel the reservation. Ask them to vacate the private room, right now. There was a long silence. Then he sighed. If you are certain, Signora, I will inform them immediately. Thank you. I hung up before I could change my mind. My heart was racing, adrenaline coursing through my veins. I did not give myself time to second guess. I dialed the next number. The hotel concierge answered on the second ring. Buonasera, Hotel Fontana. How may I assist you? Hi, this is Hannah. I am a guest at your hotel. I am also the person who booked multiple rooms for a group currently staying with you. Ah, si, Signora Hannah. How can I help you this evening? I need to cancel all room reservations under my name, effective immediately, tonight. The concierge's voice went up an octave. I am sorry, can you repeat that? I booked 5 rooms for my group. I am canceling all of them, tonight. The guests will need to check out. Signora, this is highly irregular. We require at least 24 hours notice for cancellations. I understand your policy, but I am the primary guest. My credit card is guaranteeing those rooms. I am withdrawing that guarantee. Please inform the guests that they need to vacate by midnight. But Signora, where will they go? We are fully booked. October is peak season in Rome. That is not my concern anymore. Please process the cancellation. There was a flurry of typing on the other end, then a flustered sigh. This will take some time to process, and there will likely be fees. Charge whatever fees you need to my card. Just make sure they are informed tonight. As you wish, Signora. I ended the call and immediately dialed the car service. Pronto Elite Transport Roma. Hello, this is Hannah. I have multiple reservations with your company for the next 2 weeks. I need to cancel all of them, immediately. Signora, may I have your reservation number? I rattled off the confirmation code I had memorized. Ah, see, I see your bookings here. Airport transfers day trips to Tivoli and Ostia Antica. You wish to cancel all of these? Yes, all of them. There will be cancellation fees for the airport transfers as they are scheduled for tomorrow. That is fine. Cancel everything. As you wish, I will send you a confirmation email. Thank you. 3 down. I pulled up my messages and found the photographer's contact. I sent a quick text. Event canceled. No payment will be issued. Apologies for the inconvenience. Then I scrolled to the florist I had arranged for the rest of the week, who was supposed to deliver fresh arrangements to the hotel suite daily. I called and canceled. Next was the tour guide I had booked for a private Vatican Gardens tour, scheduled for 2 days from now. Canceled. I went through my entire list methodically. Every single thing I had arranged, every detail I had coordinated, every reservation I had made. One by one, I canceled them all. The whole process took less than 15 minutes. When I was done, I sat there on the edge of the fountain, my phone still in my hand, and I felt something I had not felt in years. Control. For once, I was not bending. I was not accommodating. I was not swallowing my hurt and putting on a brave face. I was drawing a line. I checked the time. It had been about 12 minutes since I left the restaurant. They were probably just finishing their antipasti course right about now. Patricia was probably holding court, telling stories, basking in the attention. Any minute now, Giuseppe would walk into that private dining room and deliver the news. I almost wished I could see their faces. Back at the restaurant, the mood had settled into something close to normalcy after my departure. Patricia was talking about the first time she and Frank had come to Rome, regaling everyone with stories about getting lost in Trastevere and accidentally ordering tripe because they could not read the menu. David sat quietly checking his phone every few minutes. Still, no response from me. His texts sat there unread. He tried calling twice, both times straight to voicemail. "David, put your phone away," Patricia said lightly. "She will be fine. Let her cool off." "I should go find her," David said, half standing. "Sit," Patricia commanded, and he did. "This is my birthday dinner. Hannah made her choice to leave. Do not let her dramatic exit ruin the evening." Lauren raised her glass. "To Mom, and to family who actually show up." They clinked glasses. David forced a smile and took a sip of wine, but his stomach was churning. The antipasti plates were cleared. The pasta course was about to be served, and then Giuseppe appeared in the doorway, his expression grave. "Scusi," he said, his voice cutting through the conversation. "Signore, signora, I need to speak with you." Patricia looked up irritated at the interruption. "Yes, what is it?" Giuseppe stepped fully into the room, hands clasped in front of him. "I am very sorry to inform you, but your reservation has been canceled." Silence. "Excuse me," Patricia said, her voice sharp. "The reservation. It has been canceled. I must ask you to vacate the private dining room." Frank set down his wine glass. "There must be some mistake." "No mistake, signore. The person who made the booking, Signora Hannah, she called approximately 10 minutes ago. She canceled the reservation and withdrew authorization." The words landed like a bomb. Lauren's mouth fell open. "She would not." "She did," Giuseppe said. "I spoke with her myself. I am very sorry, but I must follow our booking policies." Patricia's face flushed red. "This is absurd. This is my birthday. You cannot just throw us out." Giuseppe's expression remained professional but firm. "Signora, I understand this is upsetting, but the person who made the reservation has the authority to cancel it. We have another party waiting for this room." That last part was a lie. There was no other party. But Giuseppe needed them to leave, and he needed them to leave quickly. David stood fumbling for his phone. "I will call her. This is just a misunderstanding. She is upset, but I can fix this." He dialed. Voicemail. He tried again. Voicemail. He typed out a text. "Han, what is going on? Please call me. We can fix this." No response. Frank tried to negotiate. "Surely we can simply pay for the dinner ourselves. We will cover the bill. There is no need to—" Giuseppe shook his head. "I am sorry, signore. The room is no longer available." Patricia stood her chair, scraping loudly against the floor. Her face was a mask of fury. "This is unacceptable. I demand to speak to the owner." "The owner will tell you the same thing, signora. I am very sorry." Lauren looked like she might cry. "I cannot believe she is doing this." Margaret whispered to Tom, "Maybe we should just go back to our hotel." Tom nodded quickly. "Yes, I think that is best." They gathered their things, avoiding eye contact with the rest of the family. The photographer, who had been standing awkwardly in the corner this whole time, quietly packed up his equipment and slipped out. One by one, the family collected their belongings. Patricia was seething, muttering under her breath about ingratitude and vindictiveness. Lauren clung to Jason's arm, whispering furiously. Frank looked shell-shocked. David kept trying to calm me, his frustration mounting with each unanswered ring. They exited the restaurant in a humiliated clump, Giuseppe holding the door open with an apologetic expression. Outside, the night air felt cold despite the mild temperature. Patricia was shaking with rage. How dare she, after everything? David tried me again. Voicemail. He sent another text. Please, Han, just talk to me. They walked back toward the hotel in tense silence, the festive mood completely shattered. When they reached the lobby, Patricia marched up to the front desk to retrieve her room key. The desk clerk, a young woman with a nervous smile, pulled up the reservation on her computer. Her smile faded. Ah, Signora Patricia, there is a problem. Patricia's eyes narrowed. What now? Your room reservation has been canceled. All of the rooms booked under the name Hannah have been canceled. You will need to check out tonight. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Patricia's voice came out in a strangled whisper. What? The clerk looked genuinely distressed. I am so sorry. The primary guest called and canceled all bookings. It is our policy to honor the primary guest's requests. Frank stepped forward. This is a mistake. We will pay. We will rebook. Just let us stay in our rooms. The clerk shook her head. I am very sorry, Signore, but we are fully booked. There is a medical conference in the city this week. We have no availability. Then find us another hotel, Patricia demanded. The clerk's fingers flew over her keyboard. I can try, but most hotels in the center are fully booked. I can perhaps find something near Termini Station. David was pale. He finally got through to my voicemail and left a message, his voice shaking. Hannah, please. I know you are angry, but this is too much. Where are you? Please just call me back. Margaret and Tom made their excuses and left, quickly retreating to their own hotel, which had been booked separately. The clerk managed to find 2 rooms at a budget hotel near the train station. The rates were exorbitant due to last-minute booking, and the area was not exactly safe at night. But it was all that was available. Patricia was near tears, not sad tears, angry, frustrated tears. This is my birthday, my 70th birthday. This was supposed to be perfect. Lauren put her arm around her mother. I know, Mom. I know. She shot a glare at David. Your wife is insane. David bristled. She was humiliated. You all laughed at her. It was a mistake, Lauren snapped. She is blowing this completely out of proportion. Was it a mistake? David asked, his voice harder than usual. Or did Mom change the reservation? Patricia did not answer. They gathered their luggage and took cabs to the budget hotel. The rooms were small and dated the neighborhood sketchy. Patricia cried in her room while Frank tried to comfort her. Lauren and Jason whispered angrily in theirs. David sat alone on his bed, staring at his phone, willing me to respond. I did not. Meanwhile, I had checked into a small affordable hotel near the Pantheon. I paid cash and gave a fake name. The room was simple but clean, with a window overlooking a quiet courtyard. I ordered room service, a plate of pasta carbonara and a glass of red wine, and I ate slowly, savoring each bite. My phone was still buzzing with calls and texts. David, Patricia, Lauren. Even Frank tried once. I ignored them all. When I finally turned off my phone and climbed into bed, I expected to feel guilty, or anxious, or scared about what this meant for my marriage. But instead, I felt something I had not felt in years. Relief. I fell asleep almost immediately. The next morning, I woke to sunlight streaming through the window. For a moment, I forgot where I was. Then, everything came rushing back. I turned on my phone. 37 missed calls. 62 text messages. I scrolled through them without reading most. They ranged from angry to pleading to confused. Patricia's messages were venomous. Lauren's were cruel. David's were desperate. I was about to turn my phone off again when there was a knock at my door. I froze. No one knew where I was. I crept to the peephole and looked out. David. Somehow he had found me. I hesitated, then opened the door. He looked terrible. His hair was disheveled, his eyes red-rimmed, his clothes wrinkled like he had slept in them, which he probably had. "Can I come in?" he asked, his voice hoarse. I stepped aside. He entered and just stood there for a moment, looking around the small room. Then he turned to me. "Hannah, what the hell?" "Do you realize what you did?" I kept my voice calm. "Yes, I canceled plans that I made. You humiliated my mother on her birthday. She humiliated me first." David ran his hands through his hair. "It was a mistake, a miscount." I laughed and it came out bitter. "David, it was not a mistake. Your mother called the restaurant and changed the reservation from 10 to 9. She deliberately excluded me." "You do not know that." "Yes, I do. I confirmed 10 people with Giuseppe multiple times. The restaurant had 9 place settings ready. That does not happen by accident." David opened his mouth, then closed it. He could not argue with the logic. "And you," I continued. "You stood there and laughed while your family mocked me." I was trying to lighten the mood. "You should have defended me. You should have walked out with me." His voice rose. "She is my mother, Hannah, and I am your wife." The words hung in the air between us. David sank onto the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. When he spoke again, his voice was quieter. I know you are." "Do you? Because for 5 years I have watched you choose her over me every single time. Every criticism, every slight, every boundary she has crossed you have excused it. You have asked me to be patient, to understand, to just let it go. She is set in her ways." "No, David, she is cruel, and you have enabled her." David looked up at me, his eyes wet. "So what now? You want a divorce." The question hit me harder than I expected. "I do not know. Do you want to stay married to someone your family does not respect?" "Of course I do. I love you." "Then prove it." "How?" I sat down beside him. "Stand up to your mother. Tell her what she did was wrong. Demand that she apologize to me. Set boundaries." David went pale. "Hannah, she will never." "Then there is your answer. You are asking me to choose between you and my family." "No, David. Your mother is the one who made that choice. I am just asking you to respect me as your partner. I am asking you to put our marriage first." David was silent, his jaw working. I could see the conflict playing out on his face. Decades of conditioning of being taught that family loyalty meant unconditional obedience to Patricia warring against his commitment to me. Finally, he stood. "I need to think." "Okay." He walked to the door, then paused. "Where are you staying after this?" "I am flying home today. I already booked a ticket." His eyes widened. "What?" "I am done. David, I am done with this trip, done with trying to win over people who have decided they will never accept me. I am going home. Hannah, please, can we just talk about this more? Figure something out?" I shook my head. "We have been talking for 5 years. I am finished." "So that is it. You are just leaving. You can come with me, or you can stay with your family. But if you stay, we are done." The ultimatum hung in the air. David stared at me, his face a mixture of hurt and anger and desperation. "I will call you," he said finally. Then he left. I sat there for a long time after he was gone, staring at the closed door. An hour later, I was packing my small bag when my phone rang. It was an unknown number. I almost did not answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello, you vindictive little witch." Patricia. I almost hung up, but I decided I wanted to hear this. "Patricia, how dare you? How dare you do what you did? Do you have any idea what you have done? You ruined my birthday. You humiliated me in front of my family. You forced us into some disgusting hotel in a terrible neighborhood. And for what? Because you got your feelings hurt?" I kept my voice level. "Because you deliberately excluded me from a dinner I planned. It was a mistake. Stop lying." There was a sharp intake of breath. "Excuse me. You called the restaurant and changed the reservation from 10 to 9. You planned this. You wanted to humiliate me." Silence. Then Patricia's voice came back colder than ice. "You are not really family. You are just someone David married." There it was. The truth she had been dancing around for 5 years. "Thank you for finally being honest," I said. "If you think David will choose you over us." I do not care anymore what David chooses. I am choosing myself. I hung up. Within minutes, there was pounding on my door. I opened it to find Patricia and Lauren standing there. Patricia pushed past me into the room. You do not get to hang up on me. Get out! You are a spiteful, selfish woman. You have always been wrong for David. I knew it from the moment I met you. Lauren chimed in. You are just mad because you know you do not fit in with us. I looked at her. Really looked at her. This woman child who had been coddled and enabled her entire life. No, Lauren, I am mad because I wasted 5 years trying to earn love from people who are incapable of giving it. Patricia stepped closer. If you think David will... David can make his own choices, but I have made mine. Now get out of my room. They stared at me, clearly not used to me standing my ground. You will regret this, Patricia said. The only thing I regret is not doing it sooner. They left, slamming the door behind them. I finished packing, checked out of the hotel, and took a cab to the airport. My flight was not for several hours, but I did not want to spend another minute in Rome. I sat in the airport terminal watching planes take off, and my phone rang again. David, I answered. Wait, he said, his voice urgent. Please wait. I am boarding in an hour. I am coming with you. I paused. What? I am coming home with you. I told my mother she was wrong. I told her she owes you an apology. She refused, so I left. I felt something crack open in my chest. Where are you now? Getting a cab to the airport. Please, Hannah. Please wait for me. I closed my eyes. Okay. I should have done this years ago. I am so sorry. I know. I will be there in 20 minutes. Do not leave without me. I will wait. I hung up and sat there, my heart pounding. 25 minutes later, David appeared jogging through the terminal with his suitcase bouncing behind him. He was out of breath, his face flushed. I am here, he said. I am here. I stood. We looked at each other for a long moment. Then he pulled me into a hug and I let myself lean into him. I am sorry, he whispered. I am so sorry. I know. We boarded the flight together. For most of the journey, we did not talk much. We were both exhausted, emotionally drained. But he held my hand the entire time, and that felt like a start. The weeks after Rome were hard. David and I had a lot to work through. The trust between us had been damaged, maybe not beyond repair, but it would take time to rebuild. We started seeing a therapist together. Dr. Brennan was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who did not let us hide behind excuses. She made David confront the ways he had enabled his mother's behavior, the ways he had prioritized his family of origin over our marriage. She helped me understand that I had played a role too, by not speaking up sooner, by swallowing my hurt in the name of keeping the peace. It was painful work. There were sessions where I cried, sessions where David cried, sessions where we both wanted to give up. But slowly, something began to shift. David started setting boundaries with his mother. When Patricia called demanding to know when we would visit, he told her we needed space. When she sent guilt-tripping texts, he did not respond immediately. When she tried to make Lauren the go-between, he shut it down. Patricia's reaction was predictable. She oscillated between fury and martyrdom. She told David he was breaking her heart. She said I had poisoned him against her. She played every card in the manipulation deck, but David held firm. And for the first time in our relationship, I felt like we were actually on the same team. Lauren sent me a series of nasty texts, calling me every name she could think of. I blocked her. Frank called once, his voice apologetic. I am sorry for how things went in Rome. I should have said something. I appreciated it, even if it felt too little too late. Margaret sent a card with a simple note. You deserved better. As the holidays approached, the question arose of what we would do for Christmas. In past years, it had been a given that we would spend it with Patricia and Frank, but this year, nothing was a given. David and I talked about it at length. We agreed that we were not ready to completely cut ties, but we needed boundaries, clear, firm, non-negotiable boundaries. In mid-December, Patricia called David. Her voice was different, smaller, less imperious. May I speak to Hannah? David handed me the phone, eyebrows raised. Hello. Hannah, it is Patricia. I know. There was a long pause. Then she spoke, and her voice was strained like the words were being pulled from her with pliers. I am sorry. For Rome. And for everything before. It was not a perfect apology. It did not undo 5 years of hurt, but it was something. Thank you, I said quietly. Will you and David come for Christmas? I glanced at David. He was watching me intently, leaving the decision to me. We will think about it. Please. I miss my son. That was as close to vulnerable as I had ever heard Patricia sound. I will talk to David. We will let you know. After I hung up, David and I discussed it. We decided we would go, but on our terms. We would stay at a hotel, not at their house. We would come for dinner, only not the entire day, and if anyone disrespected me, we would leave immediately. When Christmas arrived, we drove to Newton with low expectations and high anxiety. Patricia answered the door wearing a festive sweater, her smile tentative. Merry Christmas, she said. Merry Christmas, I replied. The afternoon was stiff at first. Lauren was polite but cold. Frank was warm, clearly relieved that we were there. Patricia tried awkwardly. She complimented my sweater. She asked about my work with what seemed like genuine interest. She did not make a single passive-aggressive comment. At dinner, there were enough seats for everyone. I sat next to David, his hand holding mine under the table. When Patricia raised her glass for a toast, she looked around the table, her gaze landing on each of us in turn. To family, she said. All of us. Her eyes met mine, and for the first time, the look was not cold or dismissive. It was not warm exactly, but it was not hostile either. It was acknowledgement. We clinked glasses and drank. The day was not perfect. There were moments of tension, awkward silences, forced smiles. But it was better than Rome. And better was something. As David and I drove back to our hotel that evening, I leaned my head against the window and watched the lights of the city blur past. You okay? David asked. Yeah, I am. And I was. I realized then that I had been looking for the wrong thing all along. I had been trying to earn Patricia's love, her acceptance, her approval. I had been trying to make myself fit into a space that was never designed for me, but I did not need that anymore. What I needed was respect, boundaries, a partner who would stand beside me. And I had that now. It was not perfect. It might never be perfect. But it was real. Over the following months, things slowly improved. Patricia and I would never be close. We would never have the relationship I had once hoped for, but we reached a kind of detente, a mutual understanding that we would be civil for David's sake. Lauren remained distant, but I stopped caring. David and I grew stronger. We learned how to communicate better, how to prioritize each other, how to build a marriage that was not dependent on anyone else's approval. And I learned the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away. Sometimes burning a bridge is the only way to illuminate the path forward. Rome had been the catalyst, the moment when I finally stopped bending and started standing. And while I was not proud of every choice I made that night, I was proud of one thing. I had chosen myself. I had reclaimed my dignity, and I had taught everyone involved that I was not someone who could be pushed around. The dinner cancellation cost me some money in fees. It probably cost me any chance of a warm relationship with Patricia, but it gave me something far more valuable. It gave me back my self-respect. And in the end, that was worth everything. If you have ever found yourself at a table with no seat, for you remember this, you do not have to accept it. You do not have to smile and pretend it is okay. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to stand up for yourself, and you are allowed to set the terms of your own life. No one gets to treat you as less than you are. Not family, not friends, not anyone. And if they try, you get to decide what happens next. I decided to take back my power. And you know what? It felt incredible. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who did not respect you? How did you handle it? Drop your story in the comments below. I would love to read about your experiences. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about setting boundaries and choosing yourself. Share this with someone who might need to hear it today. Thank you so much for listening, and remember, you deserve a seat at every table you help set. Never forget that.